Welcome to the deep dive. We've received some really insightful material from you about mental health awareness, and today we really want to dig into that.
Yeah, absolutely. The goal is for you to leave with a clearer picture, feeling, more informed.
It's such a vital topic, and the numbers, well, they really paint a picture, don't they?
They really do. We're talking about roughly 19% of adults facing a mental illness each year.
19%. And it's even higher for younger people.
That's right. For teenagers, it's something like 46%, which is staggering. And even for children, around 13%.
Wow. So when you think about your daily life, your friends, family, coworkers,
Exactly. It means this is almost certainly touching people you interact with every single day.
it really brings it home. But here's the thing that jumps out, despite how common this is. Well, only about half the people who need help actually get it.
Right. And a huge reason for that gap, stigma. It's this powerful um, obstacle.
Understanding that stigma seems key.
It really is. And that's why we're diving into this article today from Jean Holthaus, the Pine Rest Newsroom.
So, the plan is to unpack what mental illness actually is, according to this source.
Uh-huh. Look at how stigma gets in the way.
And most importantly, figure out some concrete things you, our listeners, can actually do to support people.
Sounds like a plan. So where do we start? Maybe with the definition itself.
Good idea. Okay, the article is very clear on this. It defines mental illness as a physical illness of the brain.
That's such a crucial point right there. Physical illness?
Exactly. It frames it not as, a weakness or a character flaw, but as a biological condition.
Which can then cause disturbances in thinking, behavior, energy, emotion. Makes coping with daily life really tough sometimes.
And the research points to complex causes, right? Not just one thing.
Definitely. The article mentions genetics, brain chemistry, that delicate balance, even brain structure itself.
And trauma, too.
Yes, trauma is a big one. Plus, it mentions links to other medical conditions like heart disease. It shows how interconnected everything is.
Our physical and mental health aren't really separate buckets, are they?
Not at all.
All
It's
right.
all one system.
Okay, so moving on from the definition, the article highlights some common conditions. Anxiety disorders come up first.
And the numbers there are significant too. Affects over 19% of adults annually.
1 in 5 adults, roughly.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It really is. And anxiety isn't just, feeling worried sometimes. It's a whole category.
Right, the article gives examples like PTSD.
Uh-huh. Post-traumatic stress disorder and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Panic disorder, too, those sudden panic attacks.
Yeah. And generalized anxiety disorder, which is more that persistent ongoing worry. And specific phobias, the intense fear of certain things.
So, a really wide range of experiences under that anxiety umbrella, much more than just everyday stress.
Absolutely. It can be incredibly disruptive.
Then the article talks about mood disorders affecting what, nearly 10% of adults?
Yeah, close to 10% each year. And the core issue here is difficulty regulating mood.
Okay. And the main examples given.
Depression is a major one, that
Mm.
persistent sadness, loss of interest, things that really impact daily life. And also bipolar disorder. That involves those significant shifts in mood, energy, thinking, swinging between highs and lows.
Okay. So we're getting a sense of the scale and the types of conditions, but then the article shifts focus to stigma.
Ah, yes, stigma. It notes that things have improved a bit over time, perception-wise.
But it's still a powerful force.
Oh, absolutely. Still casts a long shadow. And the article suggests why pointing fingers at media stereotypes and, frankly, a lack of education.
That makes sense. And there's a specific finding mentioned.
Yes, this is quite striking. It says people tend to attach negative stigmas to mental health conditions more often, or maybe more strongly, than they do to other physical illnesses.
Like cancer or diabetes, for example.
Exactly. There's often a different societal reaction, isn't there?
There really is. You wouldn't hesitate to support someone with a physical illness, but with mental health. There can be that awkwardness or judgment, even.
Precisely. And the article spells out the consequences. Stigma directly leads to fewer people seeking treatment.
Which is heartbreaking when you think about it.
It is. And it also means fewer resources often get allocated for mental health care. It's a cycle.
And for the person actually struggling, dealing with that external stigma on top of everything else.
It must feel overwhelming, like an extra burden of shame or isolation, making it even harder to reach out.
Which can just make things worse.
Sadly, yes.
Okay, but this leads us to a more positive section of the article, which is really important, about what we can do, practical steps.
Yes, moving from understanding the problem to being part of the solution.
The first one mentioned is respect and acceptance.
Sounds simple, right? But incredibly powerful.
How so?
Well, the article emphasizes that just showing basic respect, accepting the person for who they are, can remove a huge barrier for someone who's struggling. It's about seeing the person.
Not just the diagnosis.
Exactly. Seeing their value, their humanity, regardless of the challenges they're facing, that validation is huge.
That makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
The next point is about advocacy,
Right. Encouraging us to speak up, within our own circles.
like at work or in community groups, church, school, even just with friends and family.
Precisely. Advocating for equal rights and opportunities for people with mental health conditions.
So actively pushing back against the stigma.
Yeah, challenging those misconceptions.
Yeah.
Helping create environments where it's okay to seek help, where it's seen as strength, not weakness.
Building more supportive communities.
That's the goal.
And the third action item,
Education. Simply learning more about mental health.
because the more we understand,
The better equipped we are to offer real, meaningful support. Knowledge helps us move past fear or misunderstanding.
we can be better allies.
Exactly. Offer more empathy. Challenge stereotypes when we hear them. Knowledge is power here.
Definitely. The article also provides some resources for people who want to learn more.
Yes, it lists several reputable organizations. The National Institute of Mental Health,
NIMH, right.
Mental Health America, MHA, and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is NAMI,
NAMI is a big one. Yeah.
very well known. And of course, Pine Rest Mental Health Resources, given the article's origin.
And it also specifically mentioned Postpartum Support International.
It did, yeah, which connects to other related content they have, specifically highlighting the challenges around pregnancy and postpartum mental health.
That's an important specific area.
Absolutely. And Pine Rest itself, the article notes, offers treatment for anxiety and depression at various care levels for all ages.
So help is available. That's a key message too.
Definitely. Reaching out is a positive step.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's summarize the main points.
Well, first, mental illness is presented as a physical illness of the brain. It's common.
Very common. But stigma is a major barrier to treatment.
It's a huge barrier.
Yeah.
But, and this is the hopeful part, our individual actions can make a difference.
Showing respect, advocating, educating ourselves.
Those actions really matter. They help chip away at the stigma.
And ultimately, it's about, as you said earlier, seeing the person beyond the condition.
Recognizing their inherent worth and potential.
Exactly. So to leave you with something to think about, consider maybe the subtle ways stigma might still operate in your own thinking or in your community.
That's a good point. Where might it be hiding?
Right. And then ask yourself, what's one small practical step you could take, maybe even starting today, to challenge that stigma and foster a more understanding environment?